morning. My name is Jonathan Neef, campus pastor at Christ Church, Vernon Hills. Today we're talking about prayer from the book 21 Days to Childlike Prayer. And in day 3, he argues that childlike boldness is rooted in childlike dependency. Childlike boldness is rooted in childlike dependency. An example he gives is one that is close to home for me, right? It's the little kids running into your room in the middle of the night, boldly interrupting my sleep to ask for some demand, which they think is so important. And it's usually something like, help me find my lovey, help me find my blanket. But they make that bold thing and they're dependent and they think daddy can do it. Daddy knows where it is. Daddy can make my cough go away, right? There's a boldness and a dependency that happens in little kids that our author is arguing we need to embrace. And this is something that we would say, yeah, bold and dependent. This correlates to, if we were to take it from kid language and use other language, it's the boldness is like, is there a good and loving God? Can I trust that he is good? And the dependence is like, and is God able to do something about my problems when I face them? So it's something I've certainly wrestled with. Full disclosure, I wrestle with this chapter. I wrestle with this concept. It is hard for me. In fact, before I was assigned this one, because we was told, hey, you're going to do day 3. So I signed up for it. I did the homework and had already worked through it. And I asked a question in the back that says, hey, when you're embracing childlike dependency and childlike boldness, which is harder for you and why? I said, well, dependency. A little bit ashamed to admit it on camera, but I don't want to depend on God because I don't think he always shows up. I don't want to depend on God because I don't think he always shows up. And that's the honesty of where I am. And I think perhaps the honesty of where some of you are. Will God really show up when I need him to? Will he be there? And will he provide for me? So there's some things that I do as I wrestle with this because I know it to be true cognitively. It's taught in scripture. It's one of those things I know it up here. I'm trying to believe it down here. So I actually practice something to work on my dependency. There's a couple things I do just to remind myself, I am not God. I am dependent upon him, and he is good, loving, and faithful, and worthy of my trust. So some of the things I do, it's going to sound cheesy, but I sleep. And before I go to bed, I remind myself the world moves without me. It's dependent on God. And I say, God, thank you for letting the world be carried on your shoulders, not mine. Also, there's fasting, where I remind myself when I'm fasting that I'm weak, irritable, grumpy, tired, and that I am dependent upon food to function. The third thing I do is I practice Sabbath. Sabbath is, the concept where we stop, we cease. I'm not doing work. I am resting. I am delighting in God's goodness. And on those days, I remind myself, I'm dependent upon God. The world is not dependent upon me. And I get to delight in his goodness. And he is good. So I don't know whether those exercises would be helpful to you, but those are 3 things I do to practice childlike dependence as I work on growing in my childlike faith. So let me give one last story, which is this. It's kind of going along with the book. A couple years ago, I was a pastor down in Kansas. My wife and I started having kids, and we wanted to be nearer to family. And we started praying boldly, right? Dependently, specifically, and also open-handedly. Like, God, I'm going to tell you what I want, but I also trust that you know what is best. Similar to what this book is arguing for. And as we made this prayer, I started praying to be a campus pastor at a multi-site church that was EFCA and within an hour of my wife's family. 3 days later, I had a conversation with Siler and Anson, and those gentlemen said, hey, would you be interested in being a campus pastor at our multi-site church that's non-denominational, right next to Trinity, same feel, and within 15 minutes of your wife's family? And I saw that as one of the moments where God did show up and God did move and where I'm grateful for him to be here. So I hope that my honesty of what has been hard and then my prayer of what has also been helpful, both of those things are helpful to you. Pray that you can grow just as I'm trying to grow in our childlike boldness and our childlike dependency. Thank you.